Last night's speech by Donald Trump in front of a joint session of Congress was, well, pretty popular. As we've told you, 76% of the American people in a CBS News poll who watched the speech loved the speech. So what about the Democrats? What about the Democrats in the room and what they did in reaction to the speech? As we've seen, they just sat on their hands. They wouldn't applaud. They wouldn't celebrate. But some of them went the extra mile. Look at this heroic bunch. First of all, they all dressed in black, a couple of them with a flash of pink. And do you know what they did? They got up and walked out. I mean, the courage of these young members of the House of Representatives to stand up and walk out of the speech. Of course, nobody saw that they walked out. It wasn't picked up on the cameras. Nobody would have known whether they were there or not. And I think they realized that once they walked out. I mean, maybe they went to their staff and they say, well, what did it look like? Did all the cameras look at us walking out? Did everything stop? Did people gasp? Were they astounded? Were they struck with the courage and bravery in the stunning and stoic movements of us walking out? Was it stunning and brave? Was it? Tell us. And then the poor staff member has to say, yeah, nobody noticed. Didn't really come up. So what do? They posed for a selfie and put it on social media. Blue Skies was lit with this picture. So there it is. Look at their faces. They are very serious. This reminds me of something. I've seen this before somewhere. Oh, that's it. That's right. That's 100% it. It's the same picture. It's the same picture. God bless Arrested Development. And then there was another person as Trump was entering the chamber of the House of Representatives. This is Democrat Melanie Stansbury. She was also stunning and brave. She's held up a handwritten sign. Of course, the Chiron blocked it, but I mean, if she was really stunning and brave, she'd be holding it up bigger. But no, she's trying to hopefully nobody notices my sign. This is not normal. Where's the clap? Didn't that was they used to be during the first Trump term? This is not normal. Because Biden was normal. Because Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is normal. But there you go. This is not right. Honestly, this hasn't worked. They've done all of these things. Back to last time. They did all of these things during the campaign. You lost. Try something new. For God's sake. I don't know why I'm helping the Democrats. But anyway, here's the best move, though. Watch what a Republican over on this side of the aisle does to the sign. Watch this play out. Yes, that is a great move. Did you see that? Did we get this guy's name, Kevin? We got to get. I'm sure it's out there. So first he's handshaking with Trump, doing the back slap. There they are saying hi. Hey, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Nice job, brother. Nice job. And then he sees over Scalise's shoulder there. He sees the sign and watch the move. Oh, that's a pro move right there. And then he tosses it. And look at did you see her face? Look at her face after her sign got stolen. Oh, she's got the sads. They are not a serious party. They are not a serious party. This is literally who the Democrats are right now. All right, maybe not literally. Although some of the outfits, we'll get to that in a bit. All right, so what else did the Democrats do? Well, here's this guy, Al Green, with his cane. He decided to stand up in the middle of the House and start yelling back at Trump. Nobody told him that he didn't have a microphone and that he wouldn't get picked up on the microphone. So during Trump's speech, all it sounded like was, which is probably one of the most coherent things we've heard from the Democrats so far this session. But here's what happened.
Finding that members members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant at Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
By the way, I love the walking stick too. But what a great! I love that the director decided to take the shot down the aisle of the Sergeant at Arms with his posse going down to escort Green out. There he goes. The Republicans say, "That's right, take him out." There goes Al Green. You remember Al Green? He was the guy who had J.D. Vance. Get him out of here. You'll remember that Al Green is the guy who instituted articles of impeachment on Donald Trump after the first week in office. So Al Green is, he wasn't expelled, by the way. That's what you'll hear. Al Green was kicked out. Al Green was not kicked out. Al Green, after multiple warnings, refused to follow the rules of the House of Representatives and the basics of decorum that all Congress members must follow. And therefore, he was expelled and probably faces censure for what he did. And good on them for doing that. But that was just part of. Oh, by the way, we have this hero right here, the man who stole that sign. Thank you, Kevin. It is Representative Lance Gooden. Good job, Lance Gooden. Good on you, Gooden. All right. Now you saw at the very end there in this video, as he's being ushered out, you see there she is. Oh, Jasmine Crockett with the butterfly eyelashes. All right, she was there. Now this is before she walked out, because you'll remember she was one of these people. Well, not those people. There she is. There's Jasmine right there, just all in black with the eyelashes. She demands to be taken seriously. So she walked out, but this is before she walked out. As you can see, she's right there in the House chamber, right? All right. But she was making the rounds. She was lit yesterday talking to the media about how bad Trump was. And I got to tell you, I want Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett should be the leader of the Democrats. I don't know if she's old enough to run for president, but boy, I'm praying that she throws her hat in, because I want more Jasmine Crockett. This is who the Democrats are. She basically is the de facto leader right now. So let's take a look at what she has to say.
First of all, thank you for making the back of my head famous. But second of all, if we could do a sequel, if you could tell Donald Trump anything tonight, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to grow a spine and stop being Putin's hoe.
Stop being Putin's hoe. What's in that Kool-Aid there, Jasmine? The world wants to know. By the way, I don't know the backstory. I wish I did know the backstory of thanks for making the back of my head famous. I don't know if I want to know the backstory. Here's some more great moments in Jasmine Crockett media hits last night.
Towers, what do you say to voters who voted for Trump because they thought he would lower prices, and now they've only gotten trade wars and the alienation of allies?
This is what I say. I say you got hoodwinked, and that's okay. That's okay. Because as I was just telling somebody just a minute ago, I have dated in my life. I know they've been talking about whether or not I'm married and all this other stuff. I'm not married, never married, okay? Just want to get that out there. But I have dated. And I will say, any of us that have ever dated, we've been hoodwinked a time or two, where we just sat there and we thought that he was going to be so great for us because he sold us on all the things, or her, okay? And then we realized they ain't shit. That's where we are, and that's okay. What matters is that you wake up and you say, this is not the one for me. So even if you voted for him, what you should be doing right now is saying, he is not the one for me.
I'm thinking MSNBC primetime. Honestly, being the nominee for president for the Democrats, that might be a waste of her talents. I'm thinking that we got one more from her, and I do like the woman who's just really engaged in this conversation on the top of the screen of the live stream there.
That while we may not have the numbers just yet, that doesn't mean that we don't have fight left in our bodies. And so I am going to fight him every step of the way until we get what we deserve, because it was my ancestors that built this motherfucker. Okay, I'm done now.
I'm just going to let that statement stand on its own. We go from the electric, dynamic, youthful exuberance of Jasmine Crockett to, well, none of those things. Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, after the speech, decided to go and stand in the well of the empty chamber with nobody around and let the world know what he thought. Thankfully, the C-SPAN camera was there.
Mr. President, last night, Donald Trump subjected the American people to a deluge.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got it wrong. It was this morning in the Senate. I thought he went there last night. It just sort of opened the session. Okay, it's this morning.
Of falsehoods, misrepresentations, and outright lies. What Americans heard last night was easily the nastiest, most divisive, most partisan, and most dishonest presidential address in American history.
Hey, Chuck. Scoreboard. 76%. What was the last time 76% of the American people approved of anything you did, Chuck Schumer? Anything. It was nasty. It was divisive. It was awful. It was terrible. See, this is all they've got. They honestly, they have been so opposed to Donald Trump for so many years that all they know how to do is just lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. They're just going to keep saying the same thing over and over again because it was so effective back in the first term. Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working again? Which brings us to Adam Schiff. And by the way, before we get to the actual content of this social media video, I got to tell you, yesterday we showed you the video of 22 of them all using the same script and the same cameras and the same edits and the same blocking for their TikTok and Instagram videos. There's clearly somebody is doing social media for the Democrats in Congress, telling them that they got to look young and hip and do these social media videos. So you'll notice two things. First of all, once again, just like yesterday's video, he's sitting, as the video begins, he's sitting down. Should we do that, Kevin? Should we do that on our show from now on? Like whenever we begin, it should start with me like this and then just sit down. Is that what the kids want? Does that give us more engagement? Somebody told them that because we saw it in every single video yesterday, except Tammy Duckworth. They all started standing up, and then as soon as the video began, they were sitting down. Also, they're all holding onto a lavalier mic. They're not using, first of all, they're not clipping a mic onto their lapel. They're not using a mic on a stand. They're not using a handheld mic. They're all holding the lavalier mic because I guess that's a trend now on TikTok or Instagram videos. So they told Schiff to do this. So you'll see at the very beginning, watch, there you go, sitting down, and I'm holding the lav. Why does he have to hold the lav? Just clip it onto your lapel. Or by the way, I know for a fact that they've got a really good budget in the House, in the Senate. You could have a mic right above you on a boom. Or you can have a mic like this on a stand that you're using. Why hold that? It's such an affectation. It's such an obvious thing of stagecraft that they're doing here. They're pathetic is what they are. But okay, let's get, because they're hip and they're going to be in like, they want to be like that really cool kid. What's his name? Harry Sisson or something? So here's Schiff and what he had to say about the president's speech.
So if you made the decision tonight not to watch the 1 hour and 40-minute State of the Union, I have a few things to say. First of all, good decision. Good decision. You would have been better off watching an hour and 40 minutes of the home shopping channel than watching that. There was nothing in this address for you. So what did he talk about for an hour and 40 minutes? Well, first of all, he talked about himself. He talked about himself an awful lot. And of course, it was along the lines of he's the greatest this and doing the greatest that of all time of any president. He even compared himself to George Washington. I kid you not. That was interspersed with lies about Social Security, lies about immigrants, and lies about everything else, which was interspersed with he's the greatest victim in the world. He's victimized this way, and he was unfairly treated this way. That was interspersed with occasional references to people in the gallery. There were occasional instances of unintended humor, such as when he attacked unelected bureaucrats not realizing, of course, that the biggest unelected bureaucrat was sitting in the gallery, and that was Elon Musk. But apart from that, nothing in it for you. For all.
I love it. I love that he's communicating to his vast audience on social media. Don't inform yourself. Don't find out for yourself. Don't actually watch a speech or listen to an interview and actually educate yourself. Just listen. I'll tell you what to think. I'll tell you what to, you need to look at it. No, don't look over there. I'll tell you what you need to think and believe about this. And he carried on the same attitude on NBC last night.
First of all, when he was talking about America as the victim of all these other countries, really you reminded me that he views the whole world through the prism of victimhood. This, born into wealth guy considers himself the biggest victim. He considers America nothing but a victim. For a party that decries victimhood, I've never seen so much appeal to being victims. The United States is the most powerful country in the world. We've been incredibly benefited by this international rules-based order that we helped to create. The alliance with NATO has been incredibly beneficial to our own security. He is tearing all of that down. He's picking fights with our allies like Canada, like the Ukraine. And for what? What does it serve the United States?
Hold on. So he just said Trump and the Republicans, they've got a victimhood complex. They keep talking about how they're victims. And then he immediately turns and said, Trump's doing this to us, and Trump's doing that to us, and Trump does this to us. They are the biggest whiny snowflake crybaby victims you'll ever see. That's all they've been since Trump came down the escalator. The lack of self-awareness. All right, what did we promise here? We promised 8 worst Democrat meltdowns here, and I think we're up to 5 now. The 8 worst Democrat meltdowns of Trump's speech. And now we really get into the good stuff because we got Maxine Waters on a low-res Skype connection from her office in the House. And folks, it doesn't get any better than that.
Turned it over to him. And we don't know everything that Elon Musk has done with his high technology ass. We don't know what he's been accused of by some, as it may relate to the election. But we're not going to give up in investigating and finding her.
It would be uncharitable for me to say that she's wigging out there, but I also think it's, well, in this case, a very accurate description. More of the evil witch from South Central Los Angeles.
Pretty awful. And I really did not like the way he used the tragic incidents and the families that were there, who of course appreciated, what they think is their president caring about what happened, to the 12-year-old and to others who were victims. And we all feel sad and bad for them, but he misused them. And what he did was he focused on them instead of focusing on the real issues that we're dealing with now.
There you go. I mean, and who's more sincere and empathetic than somebody like Maxine Waters? All right, what else have we got here? We got, what the hell is happening here? Kevin, the way you lined these up, it's terrifying. All right, here's Representative Presley from Massachusetts has something to say.
All right, y'all, I don't have a lot of time. I just came off the House floor. I could not stand one more second, tolerate one more second. This man who pardoned January 6th insurrectionists, who desecrated the very chamber that we are sitting in this moment. This man who has no respect for Congress, does not respect us as a co-equal branch of government, who has put us into a constitutional crisis. This man with his hateful rhetoric and his even more harmful policies. I went because I wanted to honor my State of the Union or my joint address of Congress guest, Claire from Everett, a probationary federal worker who was damn good at her job at housing and urban development, enforcing fair housing laws. She was fired. She didn't deserve that. The work that she did remains unfinished. There are people that will be unhoused because that work is unfinished. There's housing that will not get built because that work is unfinished, and her life has been completely upended and disrupted. And because Claire is also a manual wheelchair user, and navigated a lot of ableist spaces to come here today. I wanted to take a seat and take up space and honor her, but there is no way that I could stay there for this address. It is insult to injury, the lie.
Did she just say take up space? Are we doing like the interview for the Wicked Girls or something? Take up space. Is that a new thing that we should all be adopting? By the way, I just want to point out, not that she even should be taken seriously, but she just pointed out, I brought a probationary employee from HUD who was enforcing fair housing rules and fair housing laws and making sure that housing was being made for the unhoused. It's like, first of all, after the hundreds of billions of dollars over the last couple of decades that you've been pouring into the housing and urban development, how's housing going in urban areas right now? How's the criminal vagrancy and homelessness working? Maybe we should try something new, number one. But number two, these laws will not be enforced now. This housing will not happen now because this woman she just gave away the store. A probationary employee by definition in the federal government has been on the job for less than a year. I would love to ask Representative Presley, how many months has this woman that you invited to the speech, that you're now heart is bleeding over, because now people will be kicked out on the street and no fair housing rules will be enforced because this woman lost her job. How long had she been on the job, dear? I think the Republic will survive with a probationary employee who's been on the job 3 months, not continuing in her work. All right. The Democrat meltdowns continue, though, with, geez. Kevin, you got to warn me about this. What is happening? Can we just 1, 2, 3. Why did they insist on presenting themselves like comic book villains? This is a choice they're making. She actually delivered the Democrat response. It was a short one. The camera zoomed in tight on that face, and she said, "First, we kill the Batman." I don't know why we need to take these people seriously, but they demand it. All right, let's go back. I guess technically she doesn't look like a comic book villain, but she certainly acts like it. Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, sitting in her Uber, using hush tones because she doesn't want to disturb the driver. She's a woman of the people, don't you know? Take it away, Liz.
So one of the interesting things tonight about Donald Trump's State of the Union address is just how it had layers and layers of ugliness and distraction and crazy stories and stuff that would make a fact checker's head explode. Why do all that? And I think the big part is because Donald Trump and the Republicans in Congress have a plan. And the plan is to cut taxes for billionaires and to make everybody else pay for it. And the best way to slip through a plan like that is so unpopular is to try to throw up one handful of sand after another and hope that nobody will actually see what's happening.
Throw up one handful of sand after another. Is that like an old Native American saying? I'd never heard it before. It could be. It could be a Cherokee thing. Not sure. What was the first part of this again, though?
One of the interesting things tonight about Donald Trump's State of the Union address is just how it had layers and layers of ugliness and distraction.
Yeah, layers and layers of ugliness. Kevin, stop it! Layers and layers of ugliness. It's just unkind. All right, we'll finish the 8 worst Democrat meltdowns from last night's speech with this glorious image once again from those right-wing, conservative, America First, MAGA wackos at CBS News. 76% of those who watched the speech approve of what they saw. 23% not so much. What a night. What a time to be alive.